Recombinant DNA, we are talking of cloning vectors today. Cloning vectors are very important as we have discussed in the previous video, and out of the various types of cloning vectors, the plasmids and the bacteriophages are considered very important vectors which help in the process of replication of DNA. Now, over here we have also discussed that what are the various features that are required to facilitate the cloning into a vector. That is, origin of replication, ORI site was very important. It is the site from where the replication starts. So any piece of DNA which is when linked to this particular area or the sequence can be made to replicate within the host cell. Then we were talking about the selectable markers that helps in identifying and eliminating the transformants and non-transformants and allowing only the transformants to grow. So when we talk of these things in the cloning vector, few other points are important. Now, when we talk of plasmids, as told, plasmids and bacteriophages are the most preferred cloning vectors for our DNA technology. These are extra chromosomal. That means apart from the normal genome, they are present over there and they are self-replicating. That is, they are independent of the replication or copying of the main genome. Then they are circular, stranded DNA molecules. Now these are found in many bacteria and some of the yeasts. The term plasmid was first given by Lederberg, and the most widely used and easily manipulated vectors. So plasmids are considered to be the easiest vectors which can be manipulated. Over here, we are going to take example of one very important vector, that is PBR322. It is a commonly used plasmid cloning vector in E. coli, and it has its name, specific name, that is PBR322. Here P is small, BR has to be capital, and this number. Let us just get an idea what is meant by this particular name. P stands for plasmid. BR is named after the scientist who created it, that is Bolivar and Roderick. So it is the name BR over here. This is plasmid. And 322, it is a specific number which is given so as to differentiate it from other plasmids. This is one of the important plasmids that has been used as a cloning vector over the years. Now, it has around 4,361 base pairs, and it has antibiotic resistance gene, that is AMP, marked by AMP, and TET, that is tetracycline. Now, also another important feature is it has around 20 restriction sites. That means the entire plasmid has 20 restriction sites and 9 itself within the tetracycline site. So over here, this is the tetracycline site, and within this it has 9 restriction sites. It is one of the earliest plasmid vectors. Now, when we understand over here, it is of E. coli, that is the plasmid cloning vector in E. coli, and it has BAMH1. BAMH1 is actually a type 2 restriction endonuclease, and it has the capacity for identifying and cleaving specific sequence of DNA. Why BAMH name has been given? It is Bacillus BAMH1 is Bacillus amylo this is why the name BAMH1. Now it can identify and cleave specific sequence of DNA over here at the tetracycline site. Now what we can do, we can ligate, that is join a foreign DNA at the BAMH1 site of tetracycline resistance gene in the vector PBR. So here this can be used to ligate a foreign DNA at the TET or the tetracycline resistant gene. Now what will happen because of this? The recombinant plasmid, because now the foreign gene has been ligated at this particular site. Now the plasmid will lose tetracycline resistance due to the insertion of the foreign DNA, because the modification has taken place, and as a result this site, which was actually tetracycline 1, this will, because of the insertion of the foreign DNA, will lose its resistance for tetracycline, but it can be identified easily from the non-recombinant one. Now how is this possible? There is a method by which we can select the transformant. The transformant is one which has actually taken in the DNA, the foreign DNA. So it will now be a transformant. So the transformant is by the antibiotic resistance. Now how we can select the transformant from non-transformant? We can first grow this particular plasmid or transformant on ampicillin containing medium. So what are we first doing over here? We will be cultivating it in ampicillin containing medium. So first the transformant into ampicillin medium. And how we have created the transformant? We have used at the BAMH1 site, we have used for ligating a gene that is utilizing, actually that is cutting off the tetracycline resistance. Now the transformants growing on ampicillin are then transferred on a medium containing tetracycline. Now what is happening over here? The transformants have grown on the ampicillin medium. They will continue to grow because they don't have the resistance for this. Now this is taken and is grown on tetracycline containing medium. This will be taken and grown into tetracycline medium. When it is taken to tetracycline medium, only the recombinants which have lost the resistance against this will continue to grow, but the other one will not grow. So the recombinants will grow in ampicillin containing medium, but not on the medium containing the tetracycline. Whereas the non-recombinants will grow on both the mediums. So the transformants will grow only in ampicillin but not in tetracycline. Whereas the non-transformants, that means which have not undergone any change, will grow in both the medium. So in this case, one antibiotic resistance gene, that is specifically for tetracycline over here, helps in selecting the transformants, while the other antibiotic resistance gene get inactivated due to the insertion of alien DNA. So this is how it is helping in the selection of recombinants. Now, when we talk of the selection of combinants and recombinants, it is due to the inactivation of antibiotics. Obviously, because over here it is ampicillin and tetracycline. So the resistance difference is there. Now, another is it's a cumbersome process because there is a simultaneous plating on two plates having different antibiotics. These are the two different antibiotics and these have to be plated. That means grown in the agar. Actually, it's an agar medium containing ampicillin and tetracycline. To overcome the alternatives, this problem, selective markers are developed which differentiate recombinants from the non-recombinants on the basis of their ability to produce color in the presence of chromogenic substrate. So it is, instead of growing it on medium, we can use chromogenic substance, and this chromogenic substance actually this is a cumbersome process. So what are we using? We are using chromogenic substrate. In place of this method, we have adopted chromogenic substrate method. Now, actually what happens over here, they will give different colors of the for the transformant and for the non-transformant. So chromogenic substrates are used by the scientists to obtain different colors for recombinants and non-recombinants. Now, the presence of the chromogenic substrate over here in this case gives blue color colonies. If blue color colonies are there, then the plasmid in the bacteria does not have the insert. So that means it will be the non-transformant. It will not have the insert. But when the recombinant bacteria is formed, the gene GLA, that is the for the galactosidase, beta galactosidase, that is GLA gene, encoding beta galactosidase enzymes become inactivated due to insertion. So what happens is, when the transformants are there, the gene is inserted which will actually lose the tetracycline resistance. At the same time, it will inactivate beta galactosidase. So what happens? A white colony of bacteria is formed. It gets inactivated and white colonies are formed. So here we have the chromogenic substrate which will give us blue color if there are non-transformants. No insert has been taken place. But in the case of transformants, the beta galactosidase, that is this sidase, this gene gets inactivated, the tetracycline resistance is lost, and as a result the colonies will develop as white colonies, and these are identified as recombinant colonies. Now, since the insertion of foreign DNA results into inactivation of enzyme, what is happening over here? We have inserted a foreign DNA at the site, that is BAMH1 site or the tetracycline resistant site. So what is happening over there? This inactivation of the enzyme, that is beta galactosidase, it is known as insertional inactivation. Insertional activation is a technique used in recombinant technology to identify the transformants from the non-transformants, that is by using the chromogenic substrate. Now, if we talk about the insertional activation, it is a technique used in recombinant technology, and a bacteria containing recombinant plasmid is made to insert onto a restriction site to inside a gene to resist antibiotics, hence making the gene non-functional. So over here beta galactosidase is lost. Now this was a technique to identify the when we talk of the transferments from the non-transferment. So insertional inactivation inactivates the genes. Then we have other methods, that is by the resistant method. Now coming to PBR322, that is an important vector. It has, as I told you, it has restriction sites over there. That is eco R1 is there. You can see this is one of the restriction site. Then we have HIND3 over there, that is another restriction site. And the third is BAM1, SAL1. All these are restriction sites. So there are overall, if we see, 6 or 7 restriction sites over here. All these are the restriction sites. This BAM, SAL1, all these are restriction sites. Now over there is a term, this ROP. ROP codes the protein which is involved in the replication of the plasmid. AMP and TET are the sites for the resistance against ampicillin and tetracycline. The structure of PBR322, its explanation is a very important topic because it is a very important cloning vector which is used in the recombinant technology.